Good morning and welcome everyone to the July 9th edition of the Premarket Prep live stream. This is where we go over all the important news, notes, analysis, trade ideas that are necessary to keep you consistently profitable here throughout these crazy markets. Wasn't very eventful yesterday, right? We had some potential going on, right? With SPY, if we could hold an hourly breakout, weren't able to hold it. We kept a tight leash, small size. So no, real trades that were announced or called out. Other than that, where we took small red, but that's really the goal is that you want to make sure that you maintain the gains that you get when you get big gains. So, like last week, when we have everything that broke out on Wednesday. We had the holiday on Thursday. Everything gapped up overnight on Thursday and then into Friday. Continued to get bought up and hit our price targets, right? That's when you've got the clean breakouts, the clean looks, right? And the clean means of execution where you put real buying power behind it. We're like, all right, cool, I'll get 5 or 6 of these. And when you have, you come into a day like yesterday and you see that tech weakness from open where you had Apple hitting price targets and all that, and price targets still serving as resistance, right? You had SPY trying to make something happen, but it was really fighting against all of its biggest holdings, and it's going to be tough for it to, make something shake when it's fighting against its biggest holdings other than Nvidia. Because it was really just banks and semiconductors that were strong yesterday. So we had SPY eventually relinquishing and it just ended up chopping out all day. And that can happen, especially on weeks where you get a lot of information that's coming out or a lot of important data. We get that CPI data on Thursday, and we got Powell speaking today at 10 a.m. to the Senate, and then tomorrow at 10 a.m. to the House. So we got a lot of Powell speaking. We got CPI data. We got PPI data. We could get some, weird low volume movement here all this week, just like we got yesterday. Yesterday was one of the lowest volume days that we actually had in months. So the market tells you when it's time to move, and it tells you when it's time to groove in place. And yesterday was a groove in place kind of day, right? So we remain patient but not lazy, patient but not lazy, and looking for our opportunities, and we stay ready to execute. It's always when you take your eyes off things and you're like, oh, we haven't been doing anything for 2 days. This third day, I'm just gonna focus on da 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 da, and then you come back on that fourth day after the third day, and boom, everybody's cashed out. You're like, what the heck, right? So keep your eyes open, your alert set, ready to rock and roll and execute. And let's do that exact thing here today, this morning. So, good morning, everybody. Jatrice, Paul, Alicia, Cheswick, Coco. Good morning, everybody. Amazing to have you here. I'm feeling the vibes. I'm feeling the love. Let's dive into what we got going on today on this fabulous July 9th, Tuesday. As always, throw your ones in the chat, signifying your intention to get 1% better. Kaizen, that's the goal. That's the aim. Every day we wake up, before we put our head to the pillow, we want to get 1% better. And I'm excited to continue to do that today. So, our top news, friend or foe, 75 years after NATO was created to counter threats posed by the Soviet Union, the group is back to mark its second diamond anniversary. The expanded military alliance recently welcomed Finland and Sweden into the fold and now consists of 32 countries that cover much of Europe, as well as Turkey, Canada, and the United States. Defense spending will be a big focus at the summit tonight in Washington, D.C., as well as how to best protect the group's nearly 1 billion citizens, given one of the most dangerous security environments since the end of the Cold War. Now, up in arms, NATO membership for Ukraine is off the table for now, but the alliance will seek out ways to help the country hold the front line more than 2 years into a full scale invasion by Russia. NATO allies are expected to pledge an additional 40 billion euros of support to Kiev to prevent the war from expanding into their territory, though some critics argue that that may only embolden Moscow or create greater geopolitical risks in a multipolar world. Keeping the alliance strong and together is not the only problem nations will face at the summit, but many of the members have increasing political troubles at home, like in France and Germany, and even potentially in America. And that's really the wrench that's being thrown into us, us being NATO having a united front against Russia and, continuing to support Ukraine is because we've all got these little fires everywhere that are going on at home in terms of the elections that are taking place. We talked yesterday about the election that's happening in France, right? And how for the first time they won't have like a majority party in France, in Germany. They're having all these different elections, and there's either people that weren't expected to win that are winning. There are people that have super hardcore ideologies that are winning, or there's like contested wins in contentious races, just like we have in here and in Germany and in France. So it's tougher to keep your eyes abroad when you've got, smoke and flames that are erupting at home. Quote, our allies are looking for U.S. leadership, President Biden told MSNBC in an interview on Monday. Quote, who else do you think could step in here and do this? I expanded NATO. I solidified NATO. I made sure that we're in a position where we have a coalition of people of nations uh, around the world to deal with China, with Russia. However, there is also trouble brewing with Biden's reelection campaign, with Stifel out with a fresh research note that assigned a 40% chance to him dropping out of the race. Yeah, I mean, like I said before, I'm not out here supporting one or the other. I'm just here to tell you what the statistics say, right? What's most likely to happen, and I've already said that, right? It's for Trump to win. So I don't have a horse one way or another. Like I said, I'll vote, but I'm just telling you what is likely to happen, and so far that's looking exactly like that's the case. So that's the big thing is that I'm not want to be like, oh, like this is it should be like this or it should be like this. I'm just preparing for what is, right? For what is. So making sure that, we have access to those same resources that we created when Trump was in office. How to trade during trade wars, right? How to trade during days where Trump addresses the nation. All of those things that we had to go through and we had to live through are valuable experiences now if he gets back into office, right? Since statistically that seems like the most likely thing to happen. So knowing how to navigate that is important. We have the resources to go back and check that out and see that in action, which is huge, right? Because each and every day is a different market. We have different circumstances, but you having any little bit of experiential information that can help you get that leg up is important because every administration is different and how companies react to them and their words and markets are different. Markets reacted and hung a lot more on Trump's words than they do on Biden. I don't think Biden's ever caused the market pump. Trump has caused his fair share of both market pumps and dumps. So I think more market attention will come back to the White House with Trump over Biden. Um, and that's just me kind of trying to harp on things that can be affected. Trump also had like a more contentious relationship with big tech, where he like actively went after it and name dropped and things like that. So those are some things that could affect, kind of what goes on in a trader's world. Now, let's see here. What else to watch? Some strains have surfaced over military spending, with only 23 out of 32 NATO allies on track to meet 2024 targets of spending 2% of their annual GDP on defense. There will likely be calls for that number to be the floor and not the ceiling, especially with members like Canada that have been dodging their commitments for a decade. Canada also struggling. I think Canada might be in the most dire straits they've been in a while. They are struggling in the quality of life there, according to like census data that's coming in has drastically decreased. Outgoing NATO Security General Jens Stoltenberg has also noted the economic power of the alliance, outlining that NATO allies have half the world's economy and half its military might. Yeah, I mean, NATO expansion is kind of what caused this conflict in the first place. The Soviet Union has dissolved, and yet NATO is still here and still growing and still expanding, and pretty much is just an engulfing shroud of power around China and Russia. So you guys have heard me talk about that before, and kind of talk about how that is. I mean, we're in America, so we know how that looks for us. Oh, I was just giving a call. We're in America, so obviously we cheer on NATO and all that good stuff. But just think about it from the other perspective and what that looks like. At some point, a dog that's back into the corner is going to bite, and that's what we got, and that's what we can continue to get. So it looks like we backed off of kind of making Ukraine a part of NATO, just because that might really escalate things. But other members have still joined, and these are nations that have been historically neutral for a long time, right? Centuries even. Now, in terms of utilities news, we have a problem. Most of Houston remained without power as Tropical Storm Beryl made landfall along the Texas coast on Monday, and the blackout may be extended for days in the hardest hit areas. CenterPoint Energy, ticker CNP, Houston's main utility, said close to 2.3 million customers lost power during the storm, with at least 3 people killed in the area from winds and flash flooding. Um, yeah, that's horrible news. Prayers to the family and to the families of those involved. And I mean, that's just like I'm glad to be in Maryland where we just don't get, knock on wood, we don't get the craziest of these weather conditions. And that's why I feel like I'm like kind of inclined to also raise my family here and whatnot. I want to be around my family, but also like it's just one of those things where it's like I in Maryland, we're not really worrying too much about crazy tornadoes or crazy earthquakes or crazy flash flooding. Because I mean, this stuff can just sneak up on you. It's crazy. Southeast Texas is now facing high temperatures, which poses a great risk given the widespread blackout. Yeah, I mean, it's already with this heat wave, right? Throw a two in the chat if this heat wave has been putting you through. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if I've stepped out in the past 2 days. Since I got back, we left the beach right when the heat wave was setting in. And like and coming back, like it was just so hot. And I think I might have been outside like legitimately once in the past 3 days. Like I am just like anything I need, I'm getting delivered. I haven't run. I'm not gonna lie, it's a busy week on this end. Like I said yesterday, I was involved in an online summit coming in, speaking about AI implementation and automation and I've just got a busy week and I'm not looking to get out there and sweat my buns off running around as hot and humid as it is. But yeah, this heat wave, if you've been experiencing it, is nothing but the truth. And I could not imagine that and a blackout where I just did not have any possible AC, fan, everything running at top speed all the time. So before Barrel's landfall, authorities restricted vessel traffic at key ports in Texas out of an abundance of caution. Yeah, so CenterPoint Energy, I mean, I doubt that I'd be looking to make a trade on that, given the fact that like this has already happened, right? I'm not one to like chase something. Um, Looking at it here, might have a little daily head and shoulders action, but again, with stuff like uptrending, I'm just not really looking to take advantage of, downside looks. And I still point them out. Like I forget which one was a Moderna last week or 2 weeks ago, where it had nice downside potential and it followed through with that downside potential. I'm just not personally like looking to execute there, but it still works, right? It still works and the mechanics of everything still work. Consumer news, record travel as air travel continues to surge this year. More than 3 million passengers were screened nationwide by the Transportation Security Administration on Sunday, marking the busiest day in the agency's 22-year history. TSA saw 8 of its 10 busiest days on record in 2024, with the number of travelers crossing pre pandemic levels as a result of cheaper flight tickets and hotel prices. While many investors have expressed concerns about the economic slowdown, TSA boarding pass scans have provided an upbeat data point for the economy, according to Apollo Asset Management. JP Morgan also sees stronger oil demand due to revenge summer travel. Stronger oil demand, I'll take that. Looking at these airlines here, they've just been in a nice, consistent downtrend, at least checking out Delta. Um, Peeking around. Yeah, I mean, week after week, they're just plummeting, losing altitude. Let's see here. They're actually at a level right here that isn't too bad. You pop out on that weekly slash monthly chart. This 46.27 area, right, has been an area that has served as resistance in the past. And now that we got over it, it can serve as, support here. So might keep an eye out here on the weekly slash monthly for these airlines and see if we can get some type of reversal candle, maybe on the weekly here in this 46.27 area. It might be earnings too, might be earnings that turns it around for them. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. I know Delta reports 7-Eleven, so 2 days from now, before market open. So let me make sure again. Yep, 7-Eleven. All right. Yeah, we got Delta this week. Let's see how AAL is looking. Mm, 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 mm. AAL in a zone that's served as a nice area of support in the past. This whole 10 to $11 range. 10 more like kind of like 1086, right, which is the low, that 1086 to like $11.40 range. So, we could have AAL bounce. Typically, banks run with airlines. I don't know why, it's just the way that it is. And we know that banks have set up, to have kind of quite the bullish setup here, and they've started to get moving as of last week. So maybe we, see the airlines start to get moving along with them. Um, it's little kind of noticing, like, kind of little realizations like this that can help you, moving forward, as you kind of keep eyes on certain sector based off of your past experiences and phenomenon. What's nice is that you can do it based off of mine, all my years of experience here in markets, and I can tell you all the weird stuff that's correlated and that works out, so that you can kind of develop this sense for yourself too. The benefits of being here, getting 1% better. Guidance, energy earnings, increased demand may not be enough to help big oil, with BP expecting to book impairment charges of 1 to 2 billion for Q2 amid significantly lower refining margins. The news sent its shares down 4% in pre-market trading, while upstream production is projected to be broadly flat sequentially. BP's forecast comes just days after ExxonMobil guided for lower Q2 upstream earnings, also hurt by weaker gas prices and refining margins. Elsewhere in the sector, Devon Energy announced that it will acquire Grayson Mill's Williston Basin business in a $5 billion cash in stock deal. Now, in terms of today's markets in Asia, Japan, we're up 2%, Hong Kong flat, China up 1.3, India up 0.5, London, we're down 0.1, Paris down 0.9, Frankfurt down 0.5, the Dow up 0.1, S&P up 0.2, NASDAQ up 0.4, crude down 0.4%, gold up 0.3, Bitcoin up 1%. Remember, we got Powell today at 10 a.m., so I like kind of want to see what Powell's going to say. As of right now, I'm in patient mode. I'm in, kind of wait and see mode, see where we're at with things, and going from there, right? But I want to see what Powell has to say and what he's speaking on, and all that good stuff. And in the meantime, we've got shares, and we've got, long swings that are working for us in the background, right? With SPY still in the middle of that nice big old breakout, on the weekly, and all that good stuff. So yeah, let's see what we pushed higher overnight. Let's see what Powell has to say, what we can get out of him. That'll be at 10 a.m. again. What else is happening? Microsoft to China staff drop Android, use iPhones for work. Testimony on tap: will Powell make the same mistake twice? Eli Lilly, ticker LLY, to buy Morphic for $57 a share in cash. Amazon unveils new alarm clock ahead of Prime Day. That feels like an ad. Big Lots, ticker BIG, sets another all-time low as bankruptcy looms. Broadcom, ticker Avgo, edges up as 10-for-1 stock split approaches. Study finds patients lose more weight on Mounjaro than Ozempic. Dana Danaos, ticker DAC, adds new building container ships valued at $509 million. And then Pentagon pushes ahead with Sentinel nuke despite cost overruns. Jeez, I just don't even want to look deeper into that. Nice way to end off the news, just talking about Sentinel nukes. You love to see it. Um, Anyways, guys, that'll wrap us up. Put a bow on it for today, July 9th, 2024. Let's get after it and crush it this week. Remain patient, execute when necessary, and continue to get 1% better daily. Right? Everybody have a great rest of the day. I'll see you back here tomorrow morning for our next pre-market prep session. Have a good one.